Never stop reading the Bible. Today, we're diving deep into a really fascinating section of the book of Job. Specifically, chapters 11 through 15, our mission. Well, it's to unpack that initial advice Job gets from his friends.
And Job's powerful response, too.
Exactly. Exploring their, contrasting views on suffering and wisdom. Okay, let's unpack this. Chapter 11, Job's third friend, Zophar.
Oh, no, yeah.
Right. Now remember, Eliphaz spoke from experience, Bildad from tradition. Zophar, he's the youngest, right? And his approach feels more like, straightforward common sense.
Almost blunt, really.
Right.
Black and white.
Totally. He basically accuses Job of talking too much, being arrogant, thinking he's right.
And that this is why God's punishing him.
Yeah.
Simple cause and effect in his view.
Yeah, he emphasizes God's power, says it's unchallengeable, urges Job to just, pray, repent, drop the pride.
And everything will magically reverse.
What stands out to you about that assessment? It's pretty direct.
Well, it's that absolute certainty, isn't it? His reliance on this seemingly simple formula, sin equals suffering. There's just no room for nuance, for the complexity of what Job's actually going through.
Yeah.
And it makes you think, doesn't it, about how quick we can be to categorize, maybe even judge others based on our own neat little boxes of right and wrong.
That certainty definitely gets a reaction. Chapters 12 through 14, Job hits back. Hard.
Oh, absolutely.
He really criticizes their dogmatic attitude, points out the irony, He feels blameless, yet he's condemned.
And he brings up that uncomfortable truth. Sometimes the innocent do suffer, while the wicked seem to, prosper.
It's a tough reality he's pointing to. Then he shifts, talking about God's absolute sovereignty, his power over everything.
Power beyond our comprehension.
Right. He even kind of mocks his friends a bit, suggesting they think they're wiser than they are. What's the tone you pick up from Job here? Frustration.
Oh, frustration, definitely. And a deep sense of being misunderstood. If you think about it in just human interaction terms, we see this all the time, right? Someone's in pain, and the advice they get feels like it minimizes everything, or comes from someone who just doesn't get it.
Like they haven't earned the right to speak with such certainty.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It really makes you question the limits of, human wisdom when faced with that kind of deep suffering.
Then chapter 13, Job keeps going. He pushes back against their arrogance.
Tells them to be quiet, essentially.
Yeah. Basically, let me talk directly to God. The text really shows his, desperate need to plead his case personally.
It's very raw, very human.
Before he even lays out his complaints to God, he calls his friends worthless physicians.
Ouch. Misdiagnosing him, misrepresenting God.
He uses legal language, defending himself. But even in despair, he still holds on to his faith, still pleads for help.
Still wants that connection.
And he says again, their knowledge, it's just superficial stuff everyone knows. Why is it so important for him to bypass them and go straight to God?
I think what's really fascinating there is that persistent desire for connection with God, even when he feels completely abandoned, maybe especially then. It's a kind of defiance, isn't it, in the face of suffering, in the face of useless advice. It's faith, but expressed through, lament and protest.
A faith that questions.
Exactly. It really makes you wonder about our own relationship with the divine, or whatever we hold sacred during crises. How does that relationship manifest?
Then in chapter 14, Job shifts again. He reflects on how, fleeting human life is.
Its brevity, its sorrow.
Yeah. He makes this really moving comparison. A tree can be cut down but might regrow.
But humans, when we die, that seems final.
Right. There's this longing for renewal, maybe forgiveness, but he kind of concludes that in the end, God just sweeps humanity away. What's the lasting impression from that chapter for you?
Well, if we zoom out a bit, Job's meditation on life's transience, that's universal, isn't it?
Yeah.
We all grapple with that.
True.
And that image of the cut down tree versus humanity, it really highlights our vulnerability, the seeming, finality of death.
Yeah, it's stark.
It pushes you to ask, how do we find meaning? How do we find hope when life feels so fragile?
And just when you think things might settle, chapter 15, Eliphaz is back. Round 2.
And his tone has changed. A lot.
Oh, yeah. The text suggests he seems really intent now on proving Job's just proud and foolish. He's much more hostile, aggressive even.
It feels like the gloves are off.
It seems like Eliphaz, and probably the other friends too by now, have decided Job is an evildoer. They're focused on the fate of the wicked.
And applying it directly to Job.
Eliphaz accuses Job of speaking from wickedness, not wisdom. He argues suffering is the consequence of evil. So Job's suffering, proof of guilt.
End of story, in his mind.
What's notable about this hardening of Eliphaz's position?
What's really striking is how entrenched he becomes.
Yeah.
He's had time, he's heard Job's passionate defense, his pain.
But none of it seems to register.
Apparently not. Instead of considering Job's view or maybe other reasons for the suffering, he just digs in deeper, becomes more accusatory.
Yeah.
It really shows, I think, that human tendency sometimes to just cling to our initial beliefs,
Yeah.
even when faced with evidence or pain that contradicts them.
So thinking about all these interactions, Job and his friends, it's such a complex picture of suffering, wisdom, and just the sheer difficulty of offering comfort. What resonates most with you?
Well, it brings up a really crucial question for you, the listener, to reflect on. How do we actually engage with someone who's suffering? How do we do that without falling back on, simplistic answers or judgments?
Definitely something to consider as you continue your own exploration, the Center Studio.